So Be the Giraffe is this book, 14 stories about giraffes. And then how do you apply them to your personal life? How do you apply them to business? And, the big thing about the giraffe is it has this huge neck, and it's the only animal that evolved to be more vulnerable, not less vulnerable. So I think the time of this book, on the heels of a podcast, a TED Talk, Surviving Ain't Thriving, which has over 4 million views, is this: people are so afraid of making mistakes, and social media has everybody looking at where are you traveling to, and where are you eating, and are you flying private, and do you have the watch and the bag and all the other things. And Be the Giraffe is about leaning into vulnerability and sticking your neck out so you can have deeper connections and connect to what actually matters, instead of chasing all these false summits and looking back and realizing, wow, that's a lot of time and effort and aggravation, and for a bunch of crap that doesn't matter.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text OPTIMIZE to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stever1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona, and I'm going to start with a gratitude card. This is my new thing. Every month or every show, I'm going to start. I got this book of cards here for gratitude. And your gratitude today, audience, is the world is a better place because you are in it. And that is so true. And gratitude and grateful and helping people in the financial industry can be hard and can be difficult and can be tough. We've got a guest today that's going to take those myths, blow them up, and really show you money can be your friend. With that being said, let's bring our guest on. Chris, welcome to the show.
Steve, happy to be here.
When I first met you, I told you that when we met. Be the Giraffe, love it. What the heck is Be the Giraffe?
So Be the Giraffe is my 18th, 19th book. I'm trying to get it right. So a lot of overcompensation, I guess. But I wrote my first financial legal book 20 years ago, 25 years ago was like 170,000 words. This one's 45,000, 42,000. So Mark Twain, sorry for the length of my note. If I had more time, it would have been shorter. I'm getting better. So Be the Giraffe is after 25, 30 years working with really successful people, what I learned was that people who were moderately successful never became super successful. In other words, they got to a certain level and they just stopped because they learned how to do something really well. And few of them learned how to teach other people and how to get leverage and how to do things. Like selling is different than running a sales team, right? Running a restaurant is different than running a franchise of restaurants. And what I also found was that a lot of people who were super successful were really unhappy. And they did all this work. A good friend of mine, Sean Swarner, a great motivational speaker, he talks about this false summit because he climbed Everest and all these other mountains. And he said the false summit is the one you think is the top. And then there's still a lot longer to go. And I find that so many people have these false summits of getting somewhere and it's just not enough. Like they get there and then they're not happy. They get the job, they get the promotion, they get the money, they get the sale, they get the wife, the house, the kids, the car, whatever, and they're not happy. And so this Be the Giraffe book are all the lessons that I learned about not only how to be successful financially and in business, but how to be successful with things that actually matter, so that you're not sacrificing your health, your relationships, your fun, your purpose for money, but you're becoming aware of all of these concessions you make. So at the end of the day, success isn't how you measure against your neighbor. It's how do you feel? So Be the Giraffe is this book, 14 stories about giraffes. And then how do you apply them to your personal life? How do you apply them to business? And, the big thing about the giraffe is it has this huge neck, and it's the only animal that evolved to be more vulnerable, not less vulnerable. So I think the time of this book, on the heels of a podcast, not a podcast, a TED Talk, Surviving Ain't Thriving, which has over 4 million views, is this: people are so afraid of making mistakes, and social media has everybody looking at where are you traveling to and where are you eating and are you flying private and do you have the watch and the bag and all the other things. And Be the Giraffe is about leaning into vulnerability and sticking your neck out so you can have deeper connections and connect to what actually matters, instead of chasing all these false summits and looking back and realizing, wow, that's a lot of time and effort and aggravation and for a bunch of crap that doesn't matter.
And what I loved about Be the Giraffe, and I learned after meeting with you and we talked, is the ask. My Be the Giraffe is, hey, I need help with this. I need 100 million for a project. No, I can't help you. Okay, next. And I want to thank you, an audience. This guy's unbelievable. I'm going to tell him now in the recording. It's changed my life because I don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care about the outcome. I care about the ask, if I can help, or vice versa, both ways. Well, let's talk about from Be the Giraffe to Deepak Chopra, because it's a great transition. Talk about something that matters. Tell us about your trip.
Yeah, I hadn't been speaking much for whatever reason. And then I just decided, I had this great interaction with a bunch of people and said, okay, I need to get out on the road. And I did 4 or 5 talks in a month and a half. I met with a bunch of home builders. I met with a bunch of entrepreneurs. I met with some wealthy families. I spoke at a bunch of events in August, September, and which led me to want to speak at more events. And I realized that interpersonal connection with an audience, people trying to roll up companies, people trying to build foundations, whatever it was, I was going out and speaking with this Be the Giraffe story with no intention other than let's just go have some interactions and see what happens. And while I was at Charles Bird's Flow event, talking to Garrett Gunderson, this guy walks over, somebody I've never seen before, said, hey, you guys want to go to Antarctica? It's like, okay, sure. That seems like that's a place I haven't been. And he said, it's in 2 weeks. Like, yeah, I can't do that. And then I went to another event, and it was a little bit later, and he said, no, you can go with Deepak Chopra. It's a mindfulness cruise to Antarctica. What if I had you speak on money and mindfulness? And in that time, the guy had spent some time looking me up and talking to some people who knew me and said, I really think you'd be a great fit, and offered me a trip at a significant discount and offered me a chance to speak there and add something to the audience. So I got a chance to spend 12 days going down to Ushuaia in southern Argentina, and then taking a 2.5-day boat ride into Antarctica, and then speaking in Antarctica, and just the people who go on a Deepak cruise for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and have to travel that far and spend that much money, they all have a real, there's this whole, what did somebody introduce me to recently, the term collective intention. It's the same reason why going to a sporting event with a lot of people rooting for a team has a lot of energy, or why going to church or whatever your religious services with people and you're all praying for something or wishing for something, or you go to temple, or you go to meditate, or you go to a group event or a Tony Robbins event or a Jack Canfield event or whatever it is, Dr. Joe Dispenza event, whatever it is, everybody in there has a similar intention. There's great energy. And I met some extraordinary people. Reverend Lynn Laborde is channeling Jesus Christ and like had messages for people on the boat from their recently deceased mother with things that nobody could have known. And you
Wow.
had psychics, and you had shamans, and you had CEOs of publicly traded companies, and you had, just all kinds of interesting people. And the energy was spectacular. And I was such a late ad that nobody knew who I was, and I didn't promote anything. I just went on the boat and met people and had this amazing experience going to Antarctica, which there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell phone, there's no 5G, there's no 1G. There's just the G is get off your phone because it's not going to work. And so you're just being present with people, and there was this whole presence is more important than production was such a big takeaway for me, that just being you and everybody else was in the same place. So you're feeling the energy of the people. And I met some amazing people and developed some great relationships. And it was life-changing. It was life-changing, that whole getting away from the grind of social media and being around people who, are just different levels of consciousness, and then getting 4 or 5 opportunities to talk to Deepak one-on-one was life-changing.
Well, and I know why you got the opportunity, because you've been a servant's heart this whole time. And audience, that's why one of the reasons why you tell that story is these doors open. I mean, it wasn't a fluke. If it's God or universe, whatever you believe in, that opened because you were taking care of people when you were speaking, one-on-one. And that's the ROI, return on impact, not return on investment, that you had. It's powerful. Well, let's jump in another word that's really powerful with money is legacy. You had mentioned that. I'm a big legacy guy. That's what I'm building with my serving. I want hey, when I go, hey, he try to serve as many people as you can. Talk about legacy and money.
Yeah, what's so fascinating is a lot of us grew up with the idea. I didn't grow up with much, and it was this whole idea that it takes money to make money. And I did some research not that long in the last 6 months, and I looked at people on the Forbes 400 list. So 25 years ago, it took about $1 billion to get on the list. Now it's more like 3 to 4 billion to get on that list to be the top, and what's so interesting is how few families actually stay on the list for 20 years. Because you would think when you have that much money, now I've had the fortune of consulting with 6 different billionaire families, and they're not investing in the stock market, and they're not investing in the average private equity fund, and they're not paying retail prices for the stuff that they get access to. They're getting invited to deals that never go on the street, that never get advertised, because they have money, they have success, so they work with people they've worked with in the past. And like Dr. Tom Powell, who he and his daughter Candace are running the founder's office up in Reno, like they've helped 2,000 post-exit entrepreneurs invest their money, because like a founder was really good at building a certain company, and then when it's done, where do you put your money? You were great at a SaaS business for hospitals, or you ran a franchise of haircutting systems, and now what do you know about AI or about currency swaps or other things? And so this thing about what I'm realizing is people don't have money. So I looked into, how do families with so much money, who have access to such great deals, and even these families who spend the $6 to $20 million a year to build their own family offices, to have people full-time looking after them, still can't keep their money, then how can somebody who's relatively successful keep it? And more importantly, how did they lose it when they had people looking after it? And I found that it was taxes, it was bad investments, which a lot of times meant over leverage, or it was disagreements inside the family. And those things so I know how to do the taxes. That part's not hard. That's what I get paid a lot of money to do. But the disagreement part on how do you align your family, whether your family has $1 million or $20 million or $20 billion, how do you align the family with values and purpose? And, we have this tree, this whole program for legacy and beyond wealth, which the whole idea is that everybody's trying to grow the tree up, the wealth up. What they don't realize is that the canopy of the tree, the wider it is, the more people you touch and you reach, the higher you can go. So the wider the tree's canopy, the more sunlight you can get. And so the more people you touch, the greater your impact you can have. But the key to this, like a tree, is if it grows really big, the wealth grows big, but it's not rooted in a very strong foundation, the roots aren't strong in things that matter, then it's all going to topple and it's going to fall over. So this whole legacy thing is not just, is your mission to make the world a better place? And are you going to touch a lot of people? But is it built on some values? And what are the values? And it's amazing how many families just don't take the time to talk about, why do you have these values? What did you go through? What matters to you? And did you instill those values, not just by telling the story, but do you take your grandkids to the soup kitchen when they'd rather be doing something else, on a Saturday morning? Do you go on vacation when you go to some faraway place, and do you take time to go build a house or to visit an orphanage or to do some things and, just see that there are people who have lives that aren't what yours are? Do you live it? So that's a big part of now at this stage in my life. I only work with people who are willing to deploy a significant percentage of the tax savings that I can create, whether it's income tax or estate tax or whatever it is, unless they're willing to deploy a significant percentage of that to something that's purpose driven. It could be a philanthropy, it could be a family foundation, it could be for-profit businesses that are cleaning up water or creating, using green energy or doing something good for the planet or good for a community. If they're not willing to deploy 25 to 50% or more of what it is that we save them, then I'm just not interested in helping. So
powerful. It's powerful. And I had a billionaire tell me, one of my podcasts, who's now become a friend, because he runs a big nonprofit, billion-dollar nonprofit. He says too many rich people, successful people make a lot of money and they go, here's $1 million to a nonprofit and walk away. Look what I just did, Chris. Instead of maybe going to that homeless shelter, going to whatever, being on the board, giving your time as well as money, because they have both. Is that correct?
It's the influence, right? Does the dollar work? Your time is more valuable than money. And I've sat on a medical school board, I've sat on a business school board, but both of those were interested in helping with, they were both focused on improving health and financial outcomes in rural areas, because most people in Texas and South Carolina actually live in a rural area. You just hear about the big cities, but most people actually don't live in urban areas. And it's crazy to think this, living in Dallas, and I used to live in Los Angeles and before that Boston, that most people in America have to travel more than an hour to deliver a baby. Like that's when for me in an hour, I can get to, 15 different hospitals. Like I can't deliver a baby for obvious reasons, but it's such a foreign thing that people do live all over the place. So what is the purpose of this group? And can you go provide some guidance and some, like, the financial support is fine, but once you become successful and you have a heck of a Rolodex, which you and I are old enough to remember what that is, then the conversations and the connections you make are actually more valuable than the money.
So somebody listening, and a lot of people aren't wealthy, I've probably a small percentage are. So the people who aren't wealthy love what you're saying. What should be their first step to build that legacy that you're talking about? Of course, they can't do all that. And we're not saying they should, because they don't have millions of dollars. But what gets them closer to that situation?
Well, I just had this conversation with my son, who's in his early to mid 20s. And he's even talking about, hasn't been successful yet and has his first job. And like, how do I meet somebody? What does that look like? And I said, go meet somebody by meeting new friends or romantic interests. Go do that by donating your time to something you care about. Because if you go work at a nonprofit or you donate your time, you'll be around people who care about the things that you care about, and you'll have that shared interest, and which is a good thing. And you'll also meet people who appreciate that. So you might be the 24-year-old donating time to a homeless shelter or to trying to do what La La Land is doing and help people who kind of aged out of the foster system but don't have any guidance or whatever it is. Find that or something for dogs or for cats, or it doesn't matter what the purpose is, but not everybody there is 24 or 25. There's going to be people there who are 75 and people who are 45 and people who are 55. And what you don't understand is, I learned this in Vistage in my CEO group, is that we hire people based on what they've done. We look at the resume, but we ultimately fire people because of who they are. And so, and also we tend to hire fast and fire slow, and it should be the other way around. So it's a better situation in business if you hire people based on who they are. So someone's going to see you at an event and see that you care and you give time and you're not selfless, but certainly not selfish, that you may get a job out of this. You may make connections. I have a lot of friends who have made friends with people who are extraordinarily wealthy because they sat on a board or they met them at a shelter. I met a couple people who were substantial net worth on this cruise, this Depot cruise. And you find out after the fact, or after some conversation, that these families have had wealth for 100 to 200 years in this country. But we were there talking about meditation and talking about yoga and talking about spirituality. And it wasn't a finance cruise. But you realize these people are very careful about people learning who they are. And so just being in that, so that legacy thing is go be involved in the things that you care about, and you'll connect with other people who care about similar things. And then doors will open that way. Like they'll open through your heart. They don't have to open through your head or your hands. It isn't about the things that you necessarily did or what you've learned. It can be from what you care about. And so I think for legacy, focus on the things that you care about and put your time into that, and doors will open with people who appreciate the things that you appreciate. And then you just have to be you, and the world will open up.
Anybody can do this. Power of what you just said. There's no skill set needed besides taking action. It's only skill set needs. Audience, we're going to bring Chris back for a sequel because this guy is a rock star, true servant's heart. But before we get to my end question here, what does Be the Giraffe look like in the next 2 to 3 years?
Next 2 to 3 years is, I say we're doing 3 things. One is we're starting top down with some of the very wealthy families and saying, happy to help you build a legacy and educate your kids and grandkids, but we're insisting on some investment into things that will change the world. So that will help us find dollars. Working with corporations to help them better connect with their people so that they can align corporate goals with individual goals, as opposed to, there's a lot of companies who care about their people. So that's the second part. And the third is building out a community to teach people these Be the Giraffe lessons. And that'll be much more philanthropic, super low entry point. Things will have very little cost, but how do we just give people things that will elevate their perspective? So if you go to Be the Giraffe TV on YouTube, we've got some content there. BeTheGiraffe.com, we have some information there. It'll be a lot of giveaway and really cheap stuff to help people find their way. And then the things that we'll do that'll make money is we'll work with corporations and families that have substantial wealth to just to help them get more out of what they do by having a focus on helping the people that are right there. So that's the massive amplification of reach by going through them. And then the elevation stuff through Be the Giraffe will be, the educational stuff will be, plant the seed and hope that people have the same kind of response that you had to the material.
I love that you're doing it inexpensive or free and giving away prizes. You are the servant's heart. That's what we should be doing. I do the same. I have a free community. We just give it away. People will come. You're not homeless and you're not poor and you're not looking for your next meal. You're successful because you give away. Am I correct with that? Yeah,
completely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
well, I just would rather do that. It's easy. It's easier to give, and then, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in a place that I can. But that's, it's, you never know what the impact of a kind word or a gift or. I just had a guy in Africa read my book, in Kenya, got the book Be the Giraffe from his daughter, and he sent me a bunch of pictures that he started the Be the Giraffe business network and does this mastermind and So I sent copies to them, and it was like, he just wanted to thank me for it and tell me what he did with it. And so you just never know what the idea, I didn't even know he had the book. It was his daughter who gave it to him. And he's now started this whole association, and now he wants to write a play that's this 14-part play that teaches business to young people and does it through theater. And I was like, I wouldn't even have thought of these things, but it's more of a, I don't say that to impress the audience, but I say it more to impress upon you. Something you do can open up somebody else's mind, and then they take their thoughts with it. So go touch people and give away, and you just, and sometimes you're lucky enough to hear what they did. And that's the super cool part of it, when the stuff finds its way back to you.
Yeah, and you don't always hear it, but when you do, it's people that's turning their head like, oh, this is exactly what a servant heart does. We build something, and what a great story. Oh my God, I can't wait to look this guy up. It's powerful. That's servant's heart. Okay, we'll stop there because I go on and on about this. So my last question is, your favorite restaurant. I'm going to reserve a table. Me and you're going to sit at this table. You're going to invite 3 people who've been influential in your life, whether they're dead or alive, doesn't matter. But more importantly, what is Chris ordering for the table for food and drink?
What am I ordering? I think we'll go to Moroccan food because I can't get it in Dallas. I used to love getting it in Los Angeles. And the idea is that the Moroccan meal is, you're sitting on the ground on cushions, and it's communal, and you eat with your hands, and there's so there would be some bastilla for sure, and it would be the fruits and teas and meats and rice, and it's just, I think that's what I would do, since I haven't done that. It's a question I've never been asked, by the way, in the hundreds of interviews I've had. I love that question, Steve. But it would be because it's communal, and it's this very, it's just so different, right? To be lounging around with your friends and eating slowly, and it's a long meal, and it's many, many courses, and I think that'd be the answer.
And who would you invite?
Who would I invite? So I can invite
3 people.
I mean, I've lost both my parents, so it would be great to see them. But other than that obvious answer, if I'm there to thank people for what they've done, I would invite Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I would invite Doug Hostetler, who's out in Baltimore. He's still alive and has been a wonderful impact on me. Just gets me to think differently, and he's just one of my favorite men in the world. And I would invite, how you said, dead or alive, because the book is sitting on my desk. I think Marcus Aurelius would be, to find someone who was an emperor but was so thoughtful about other people, and just going back so far in time. I think that would be having those 3 people there for different reasons. I think that would be a pretty cool dinner.
Meditations, is that in front of you right now?
Yeah.
Marcus Rose.
Uh-huh.
I'm a big daily Stoic guy, so you just got my heart going. We got a lot to talk about later down the road. That's and is this Moroccan restaurant in LA? You sit on the floor. It's traditional.
Yeah, traditional.
I'll have to get that answer. I'd love to try it out sometime.
Dharma Greb, Darmagreb. Dharma Greb is
there you go.
Plywood.
And there's no money for that. Unless they want to sponsor, but that's all.
That's right.
Just throw it out there for you. Hey, Chris, thanks again. I can't wait to bring you back. I know people listening. Where can they get the book? How can they reach you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, BeTheGiraffe.com is on that site. You can find the links to BeTheGiraffe.tv and the TV show, and the links to YouTube is Be The Giraffe TV, and all of that. All the links are there. ChrisJarvis.me has a lot of my own personal speaking stuff too. So any of those places, Amazon, of course, has all the books, and usual places.
Servant heart makes it simple. That's the other part of a servant's heart. We don't make it complex because people won't follow if it's complex. I love that. Thanks again, Chris. And audience, Subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to Chris's or any other podcast. Here's why. These are gifts. What you just listened today, and you're at a New Year's Eve party or just before New Year's, because this will come out probably after New Year's, but you're at any event or party, or you're talking to a friend and they're like, man, I'm struggling. Well, you got to listen to the Be The Giraffe guy, this guy, Chris. I've got notes here. You could change somebody's life and make the same impact Chris made with this gentleman in Kenya by just sending this link. And it could be The Giraffe. Subscribe to his, because you get those sent to you and you could be able, you get multiple gifts. So let's do that in 2026. Use these podcasts. Let's impact people, make a difference. And with that being said, me and Chris want to thank everyone for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll definitely see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.